Are you
Okay. Lewis. Okay, Charles, I was bringing this up because I hear the disputes, but last time I checked, the Electoral College voted or made the final votes. Now, if there was a problem, I don't think we have the power, and correct me if I'm wrong, do we have the power to supersede the Electoral College? And I yield.
Thank you, Cliff. That's an excellent question, and it'll probably be raised again. But my position is, if you read the Seventh Amendment carefully, the rules of the common law referenced therein, whereunder the right to trial by jury is preserved, is also mentioned therein. The trial by jury process under common law is a higher form of law, and it decides issues of factual controversy about whether the evidence is strong enough or weak enough, stuff like that's factual controversy, and those facts are tried by juries. That elevates us to a higher system of law. See, what you've got there with the so-called Electoral College, and basically that college is a common law jurisdiction, but they're not following the rules of the common law as enlightened views interpret the rules of the common law. The rules of the common law really reach their apex through a jury. That's at the higher law level, and they're under, because the Electoral College, their decision is a majority rule thing. That's an inferior decision. It's municipal. It's Roman Empire in its nature. It's not really following rules of the common law. A jury unanimously deciding one way or the other, or possibly a third option, would be the higher law system for deciding these issues, if that makes sense there, Cliff?
Well, to a degree, but I thought the grand jury's decisions were final, and they always has been in the past, unless they can prove that they were coerced into voting a different direction. And I yield.
May I,
Charles? Who else spoke here?
Paul.
Oh, please, Paul, jump in.
Cliff, to answer your first question, no, a grand jury will not overturn a Electoral College vote. They will simply determine whether or not that vote was fraudulently induced or not fraudulently induced. And if they find that it was fraudulently induced, they will indict those, or they should indict those who engaged in that process. Now, if that issue is yielded by a grand jury, a federal grand jury, in a presentment, then it's going to be up to the United States Congress to figure out, what are we going to do now? To my knowledge, now I do not know of this ever happening before. I have no record that I can refer to. Not only that, I think I can safely say that one sitting grand jury chastising another sitting grand jury has never been done. So y'all are sitting here on the cups of legal history. And if you follow through, and if there is follow through, then y'all might want to consider hiring attorneys to act as intervention between you and probably a boatload of press from around the world wanting to know, what in the Sam Hill did y'all do? What made you do that?
There are a couple, if Paul is through, I'm not sure.
I yield.
There are a couple of other issues that I think demand some attention related to the overall temper of this discussion, and I think Paul's points are valuable, Lewis and Michael and everybody else on here. It's very critical that we're all concerned about the lawfulness or the lack thereof. And I would point out that the construct of the so-called federal grand jury, specious as it is, has some inherent problems with the fact that they require anybody to sit on a federal grand jury to be a U.S. citizen, which I think is blatant and notorious false testimony and problematic in itself, because they appear to be inferentially testifying to their incompetence because they haven't removed themselves from the burdens of small c federal citizenship, which is an invention of Congress. Additionally, under the Federal Election Act of 1867, which is dubiously whether it's constitutional or not, and I think other minds will probably decide that, but the Electoral College being tampered with, and Pence himself being somewhat of a turncoat and Judas Goat, if you will, he apparently revealed his true colors, which many of us have been highly suspect of for quite a long time. And it appears to me that since the people created the government and all the agencies thereof, that ultimately the Supreme Court that we the people form as assemblies may have more power and authority than a federal constructed so-called Supreme Court. And I think that's something that bears some meritorious examination. I'm not totally clear, but I'm pretty sure that we the people in the original constructs of the founders, at least on the 1785-87 area, is that we form the government and all the agencies thereof are under us. But I think those are issues that should be settled and are certainly in question here, and I was certainly interested in what Paul and Charles and others on this call have to say about those. Thank you very much. I yield.